did a strong woman, when you thought of a strong woman, what did you think of, and who perhaps shaped that idea of what is a strong woman?
Well, at home, I grew up in a joint family, and my parents sent me to grandparents because my father had a transferable job, so they were going, moving from one place to another. So for the sake of school and stability, I was growing up in my grandparents' house, and my aunt looked after me. She's the one who introduced me to arts, and that time there was a children's little theatre. That's another story, it will take a long time. But this person started this group from 6 to 12 years old. And we went all over India, like Delhi, and I was living in Kolkata and Bombay, and we performed sometimes 2 shows a day. So that was a great kind of introduction. And then to performative art. And then I went to, she took me to a dancing school and introduced me to various things. So that started early, and then of course living in joint family, everybody was doing lots of things. People were singing, talking, debating, chatting, Mohan Bagan, East Bagan, all those. So there was lots of conversation and disagreement. So it was a wonderful, so my grandmother controlled the atmosphere. She was like, dealt with all this chaotic whatever and brought some semblance of order there. So she was, to me, the most, the strongest person. Yeah. And my aunt, who didn't get married, but she was doing so many other things. And she was stepping outside of the house to do something. But my grandmother, she didn't have English. She wore the sari in a Bengali way, but she didn't feel less than anybody. She was talking to my friends in English, knowing perfectly, she was talking to my friends in Bengali, not having any doubt that they will understand her. And they did, So that kind of confidence and accepting my working when I joined films, she was, accepting that, because it's not really the done thing from a good family. My marrying Tiger. So she was a very strong and free-thinking person, I mean, to me, she was my epitome of the best person ever.
I wonder if now with, there's so much scrutiny, there's so much commenting on how we behave and what we do and what the right way to behave is. With all of that in mind, your idea of what it means to be a role model or to be a strong woman, which presumably is what we aspire to be, your idea of what a strong woman looks like and who those inspirations have been.
I think for me, when I think of a strong woman, it's somebody that isn't afraid to have a voice, and I think, of course, society has evolved, things have changed, maybe women have become more free. But more than anything, I think that it starts from within. I think your ability to emancipate yourself, your ability to just stand for what you believe in, and your ability to stand up for yourself is, I think, strength. That's, for me, what a strong woman is. I think somebody that just believes in herself and fights up for herself.
Have you ever had to do that, stand up for yourself or fight for something that matters to you?
I've always had a voice, and I've never had to shut my voice down. You know what I'm saying? Like, even growing up at home, questions, opinions, these things were always welcome. So I actually don't know what it's like to not even have a voice, which is not to say that there is a large section of people, women in society that maybe don't.
Right.
And honestly, just kudos to them for being able to fight and live and grow in a world that might not always support it, because I am extremely cognizant of the fact that when people talk about the privilege that we maybe come from, I think the largest privilege is that you have a brother and I have a brother, and I don't think we grew up with like them getting the better chicken.
Yeah. No.
And I think that is where our privilege maybe begins.
Yeah.
Because we've grown up in a place, maybe because we've both had working, parents, mothers that have been actors, but that aside, like I've never had to silence myself.
Yeah.
So I'm actually just really grateful for that, and I think I understand even more how important that is. And
Yes.
like I said, yeah.
But we didn't even have a brother. There were
I know.
3 of us. There were 3 daughters my parents had. And we never felt that they lacked anything.
So
Or
like,
they wanted
Dada
a
never
son.
said that,
No,
oh,
and he
we
said
want a
that my
son.
daughters are like, I mean...
Equivalent.
Yes, and what can a son do that my daughters can't do?
Which is, I mean, I'm saying way back then.
Way
Yes.
back then. Yeah.
Not so way back
So
then.
not
little way
at
back
all.
then.
I mean, there was no discrimination at all.
But you know, so much of how we are shaped and what we wear lightly on our shoulders comes from that atmosphere at home and what we watch, you know, the dynamics between our parents, how our fathers are, especially I think really shape us perhaps as daughters. You know, and I see that also with Inaya and with Kunal. But I wanted to ask you then going forward when you come out of the house and you go into a world, especially in the 60s, people say that the world today is still very male dominated in public spaces. Whether it's films, now things are changing, perhaps in front of the camera, a little bit behind the camera, but still representation is something we're talking about. We still talk about women films, and this is a woman-centric film. So for you, in the 60s, did you ever find yourself in a room full of men where you had to prove yourself as a woman?
My first director was Shakti Samanta. The first director, first producer was Shakti Samanta. So there was that Bengali connection again. The writer was Sachin Bhaumik. So that safety net was there, you know. They were very good to me. So I never really felt walking in somewhere and being judged or being sussed out. I didn't have any uncomfortable feeling like that, you know. So I cannot say that I've had any uncomfortable moments like that, you know, where I felt that I walked into a room full of men and they didn't get up for me, or they ignored me, or they just looked at me peculiarly, you know, made me feel uncomfortable.
But it may not be as obvious as that, sorry to interrupt, but you know, like today, there's a phrase called mansplaining, where you're just made aware. I mean, sometimes people sort of might dismiss you as a woman, feeling that, oh, this needs to be explained because this may not be your area of expertise. And now women are slowly, and I'll ask Sara about that, finding their voices in terms of saying that, you know,
But
this
if
is...
I may say it here, that I hear you, but I wasn't really aware of this man, woman, you know, how I have to fight for my rights. It sort of came to me and I expected it. I didn't feel that if they didn't talk to me immediately that I should be insulted. Because I had, I suppose, enough self-confidence. I didn't feel that. Nobody's ever made me feel like that. So I wasn't looking for it.
Right.
You know, I wasn't so aware that I might be pushed aside as a woman. I don't have those recollections. Yeah.
Mansplaining ever happened?
I'm sure it has, but like Badi Amma is saying, I think it's as much weightage as you give it. I think that it's not to say that what exists outside doesn't, but I really feel, at the risk of sounding semi-pseudo, that you only really find what you're looking for. And if you walk into a room confident, at least I've been lucky, as is Badi Amma, I think, that if you walk into a room with a certain degree of confidence, it doesn't land up happening as much. So actually, I truly, like I said earlier, I feel that you just have to derive your own strength yourself. In a world where you are aware that this does happen. It's not like mansplaining is not a thing.
Right.
It's not like I feel we don't live in a male-dominated world. Maybe we do. But it's as seriously as you take it. Women have their own role to play in society. Women have a very important role to play in society. I have grown up living with a single mother. So the way I look at women is totally different. Also, you know.
What do you mean by that?
For me, like for instance, you know, there's maybe to some degree, you know, women are the softer gender or, you know, men are the provider. But growing up at home, it wasn't like that. For me, my mom was doing it all.
Right.
Right. So that bifurcation is not in my memory at all.
Right.
Really, कि ये आदमी का काम है या औरत का काम है. In fact, both of you know that mom's not the best cook. So, you know, aurat ka kaam is not something that mom does.
I
You know?
fully
You
understand
know,
that.
Exactly. Like, you know, have you ever even had mom make a coffee? Probably not. So
Have
she's
you tried my coffee? I see you're not really trying it.
It's delicious. No, but like I said, you know, honestly, without making light of these things that are very tangible, palpable problems for maybe other people, I don't think I've had to face
Navigate those.
Or navigate these
And
issues.
I think,
really.
again, my vision also of that whole father being the one, being the provider, I think, but also Abba being a professional athlete, had retired by the time we were born.
Right.
So he was at home, you know,
And Badi Amma was
and
working.
Amma was at work. And we sort of just accepted that. And Amma was the one who told me that, you know, now that you have a child, when you go to work, you know, make sure that she says, you know, I wish you 10 on 10.
Yes,
Like,
I taught them to do that. So when I went to work, I said, wish me 10 on 10. So that, you know, you attach some sort of importance to a woman's work, you know. Because the woman who leaves her child behind and goes to work is frowned upon. Like you think that, oh, she's not taking care of the children,
Right.
you know. So I wanted them to appreciate my work. So they understood this 10 on 10. Even the ads say, you see when a girl gets married, a VIP suitcase comes home. And, when a man gets married, it comes home. And when a girl gets married, it goes out of the house. So, and you say, what? Insurance for, what do they say? Save money for marriage of your daughter and for
Yes.
son's education.
Yes.
So that sort of thing still continues.
that lens of how
That
you
lens
view
of,
a daughter,
view, yeah.
not as,
It's expense.
as an expense.
It's somehow expenses are involved with daughter, whereas gain is involved with her. So all these ads also reinforce
And perpetuate that
yes.
thought.
So all these gadgets and things or cars are men. You won't find a woman driving that car.
I want to come to the role of the media
Yeah.
in all of this later, especially with the films that both of you have done. And but before that, I feel like in my 40s now that I am more comfortable being myself. Like I'm not apologetic about the fact that I don't want to stay out late or that I don't want to go to a certain social gathering or the, you know, whatever the choices that I make. I feel like I can say with a sense of comfort that this is who I am, whether you accept me or not. I feel like that's come into my 40s. I don't know why at this stage. Perhaps at this stage you start prioritizing a little bit more what matters to you and what doesn't. Maybe you only have that much energy. I wanted to ask you, Amma, firstly, since you're a little bit ahead, do you feel
Older.
yeah, in time. I feel like you use your words now, that you speak up, not just for what you believe in, but for other people. I don't know whether that comes from age or whether it comes from, where do you find more empowerment? In your gender today or because of your age? Is it the changing evolution of the woman or is it because you're a little bit older?
If you mean age, if you mean age as learning over the years, what I've experienced and what has changed my mind. So I would say education. Education empowers. And that is what, and education doesn't have to be going to a university, but learning from each other for experiencing it, imbibing it, forming an argument and then presenting it, you know, articulating it, speaking up, and create this sisterhood, you know, talk to each other. So all the time if you talk to each other, you do reach out to people and you do inspire. A lot of people come and ask me like, how did you manage to raise 3 kids and how did you manage to work? Because I wanted to. I wanted to do it. I didn't want to be just a career person. I came back home once and everything was silent. I said, oh God, I want children, I want a family. I most certainly didn't want to be only a career person. There are people, and why not? But I wanted that, so I worked towards it, and things helped out, Everybody, I had these wonderful, there was Lata on the 7th floor, there was Bapa on the 6th floor, across the road was Surita Goswami and Jatin Goswami, Uncle Wilson, and Saif was Dennis the Menace. So they took him out everywhere. So there were, there's so many of us was involved in raising that child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there vulnerability. You've spoken, even in this conversation, you referred to anxiety and, rejection and things that we all go through. But I feel like perhaps also because of your generation, you're connected so much to your audience in a way that perhaps you were not connected to your audience. And we started that journey a little bit in my generation. But in terms of your anxiety, your vulnerability, like what drives you to be like that, to be open? And are there parts of that you keep and hold just to yourself?
Like I said, Soha Puppy, on a bad day, in general, what happens to me when I'm feeling low or anxious is like nothing is making you feel okay. That's what happens. You're like, ah. So in that moment, if I put on a TV show that my mother likes, or if I buy Ibrahim something, I'm immediately happier. It goes on to even like if I go and help somebody, if I make somebody that I don't know smile. I think spreading positivity and goodwill, especially when you are down and out, it's not like that's why you do it, but it just somehow makes you feel better. When you can't help yourself, help somebody else, and you'll see them smile and you'll smile. Like right now, I'm just saying something, you start smiling, I'm smiling. I'm not smiling because I'm talking about being anxious, right? Like I'm smiling because you're smiling. And that's just the beauty of life sometimes. If you can't feel joy, just like make somebody you love feel joy, and if you really want to feel like benevolent joy, make somebody you don't love feel joy. And that's just the way it is. And I think even being able to talk about it, I think that if even one person can benefit from the mind fry that I'll be feeling in that moment that I'm speaking about it, किसी का तो भला हो रहा है. मैं तो अपना दिमाग का दही कर ही रही हूँ, आपको सुन के बेहतर लग रहा है तो very good. मैंने कुछ अच्छा किया. Now even I'm feeling better. You know what I mean? So I think that is what it is more than anything.
Wonderful.
But that